Ding 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 da ding ding da ding 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 da ding ding da ding 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 da ding ding da ding ding ding.
Fubble Time.
Hi there, I am Teresa Tomey.
And I am Patrick Ziegler.
And we are
Fubble Entertainment.
And this is
Fubble Time.
Fubble Time, Fubble Time, Fubble Time. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight.
How are you, neighbor?
I'm good. I know Patrick is in Los Angeles and we are almost neighbors. It's amazing. We are not far from
staying 2 blocks from where I first lived, which is surreal. And
how many years ago?
27 years ago. 27 years ago. Oh. We were at a restaurant the other night, real quick, that Mark actually worked at, and the waiter was coming up, and I said to Mark, I bet you he was not born when you were working here. And he was 1. Time.
And it's gone.
So who's here?
Hey, I'm going to tell you about people who've made the most of time with their incredible lives and careers and all that they've done. It is just what a gift they are to West Michigan. Denene Mulay Koch is an actress, teacher, director, and coach. There's the coach. She is wife.
Here. Yay.
She is wife. Yeah, hi, Kevin. She's wife to Jeremy and mom to Jason and Carly. We're going to talk about them. The founder of Farmers Alley Theater, Denene is a Cincinnati College-Conservatory graduate who lived and worked in New York City for 10 years before moving back to Michigan almost 18 years ago. Her professional credits include touring the country as Maria in the national tour of West Side Story. Ooh, we'll have to ask her what she thinks of the movie. Many bucket list roles that she's performed at Farmers Alley, including Jane and Jane Eyre, Amalia and She Loves Me, Lucille and Parade, Francesca and the Bridges of Madison County, Helen, Bechdel and Fun Home. She currently teaches musical theater at Portage Northern High School through Education for the Arts, and she's performed with Jennifer Garner at the Barn Theater. And I love this in her bio. It makes me happy beyond measure and will make Patrick Ziegler happy too. She can bake a mean pie.
Yes.
Jeremy Koch, not Coach, is a professional actor, singer, and theatrical producer. He is husband to Denene. See how we're doing the love in February? And dad to Jason and Carly as well. Good to know. Jeremy is a co-founder, artistic director, and performer at Farmers Alley Theater in downtown Kalamazoo, which is currently West Michigan's only year-round professional equity theater company. Good for you. Jeremy has performed numerous roles at Farmers Alley, including Robert in Bridges of Madison County and Ed Boone in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Great show for which he won a 2019 Wilde Award for Best Supporting Actor. Bravo. He grew up in New Jersey. What's he doing here? Went to college at the Boston Conservatory, performed off-Broadway several times, and played the part of Tony in the national tour of West Side Story opposite Denene. There's our answer. Jeremy once performed as a soloist with the National Symphony Orchestra in the annual live PBS concert called A Capital Fourth. He is very passionate, this I know about him, about equality, justice, and making the world a better place. And they are both doing that. Please welcome Jeremy and Denene.
Da-da-da-da-da. Hi, guys.
Then that's it. The bios were so long. Good night, everybody.
Good night. It's so funny. When we first started doing this, we didn't read the full bio. I mean, some of them are like crazy long, but that's not crazy.
Good.
Because, I mean, I think people need to know the depth and breadth of work of especially theater people, I mean, our lives are one show to the next often. And it's just remarkable the amount that and I'm sure you don't have 87 credits on your bios. I mean, let's be clear.
You mean that they have, that they don't, that they do
Yeah,
maybe,
right.
Maybe if you go back to starting when we were 5, then yes.
Which is when we first met Denene, right?
Yes,
we
I
were
was 5.
That's
doing
right.
Baby, the musical. We were the babies in the musical.
We were the babies. Yeah.
You were the title role.
I was.
That's right.
Well, thanks for having us. It's so nice to be here, Patrick and Teresa.
Gosh. It's so great. We actually tried to do it another time and it didn't work out. So I'm glad that in our couples month, you guys are here. And you guys live in one of my favorite cities with such a great theater community, which is
Yes.
amazing. You know, it's really interesting how Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo have these amazing, thriving arts community, not only theater, but the arts program there. So we always start out with a question, and this is for both of you, and whoever wants to start first is how, where, when did you get bitten by the entertainment theater arts bug?
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, I was sort of born into it. I mean, not really, because my parents were in Kalamazoo because my dad, they're both from Colorado. So my dad got a job at KVCC, applied as a joke. Oh, look, Kathy, there really is a Kalamazoo, like literally applied. And then they brought him out and they gave him the red carpet treatment. I mean, it was amazing. And they were like, yeah, let's do this. So at first my mom was just, I'm going to have children, but then somehow she got involved with a sorority. Somebody asked her if she wanted to direct a show. She had done acting in college. She always had an interest in it. So when I was young, she started directing musicals. And so here was 2-year-old Denene standing, off to the side during Take Back Your Mink, Guys and Dolls, with my own little feather boa that I had somehow gotten. And my mom looks over and there I am doing all the choreography. So yeah,
I love that.
Grew up in the theater, and of course, when I was a 5-year-old, the Kalamazoo Civic, my mom started working at the Civic, and so I did shows all through high school, and went on to do it in school, and then I met this guy.
And the rest was downhill.
Yeah.
My mom is a piano player and songwriter. Was in a band, went to Woodstock, so music has always been a part of my life, and I remember that she was playing in the pit orchestra from New Jersey. We were near Princeton at the time, and there's a famous regional theater called the McCarter Theater, and she was playing in the pit of Brigadoon. And I remember that I went and I was like 7 years old, and I just was like, what is this magical place? And I just knew that I wanted that feeling, even being the audience, to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. And I remember just being, doing stand up in the living room with like the vacuum as a microphone. And my mom had an extensive LP collection and had a lot of musical theater. And one very interesting double LP, was the original cast recording of Sweeney Todd, which I, as a 9-year-old, listened to nonstop with those old 70s, headphones with. Like,
oh my God, I love it.
Yep, nonstop. I know every word. So yeah, interesting little tidbit, but that's how I got bitten.
It's so funny because you guys are both so talented, this I know, that how lucky for you that you were both exposed to it and you actually had the talent to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like you could be like, oh, I was backstage and then I could do that. I mean, and you both have lovely voices. And I mean, like, how lucky that, do you think about that? That wasn't even a question that I was going to ask, but all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, wouldn't it be terrible if you grew up in it? I mean, you guys
wanted to do it, but couldn't. Yeah. I mean, I guess I've never thought about it, but I've thought about it in terms of my kids.
I was going to,
because they've been immersed in it too. And wouldn't that be funny if, all of a sudden Carly just can't sing, or something like that? That would be weird. And pressure,
right.
But luckily that's not the case either. So we're fortunate.
Well, I have had the great fortune of being on stage with Denene, and being directed by her mother, and being on stage with your wonderful dear father, your dear John, who passed away 2 years ago now,
December of 2019. Yeah.
What a just a wonderful man, and so much talent in your family. And I will say, we first did Baby together, and then we did a chorus line, and so young to be playing Zach. I played Zach.
You're great.
Come on. But so young for you to be playing Morales, but that was a good production. That really, and we were doing the original choreography.
We were. I still remember it.
I think you guys should do it right now.
You guys.
I do it for my high school kids, and they get the biggest kick out of it.
Oh my gosh. But I will say, and I've not had the pleasure of being on stage. I've been on Zoom screen with Jeremy, who did our Zoom reading of The Santa Hat, which I was so grateful you got to be a part of that. But I will just say you both are just very generous and talented performers and director. I haven't worked with you that way, but it is really great. Do you have I don't want to say favorite, but when you're doing different, directing, producing, acting, you do it all. Is there one that does tug at your heart a little more than the other, or does it all feel just the same?
Okay, if I go first? The first time I directed something by myself was scary. It was really, really scary, especially having, my mom be she's such a wonderful director. And so there was a lot of anxiety that came with that. I'm finally starting to feel like it's as enjoyable as the performing. But I would say probably the best experience I've had to date would be the Bridges of Madison County. There was something about performing that particular role, especially after teaching the acting class that I teach. It's made me I wouldn't say necessarily a better performer, but a performer that thinks differently, that has more technique than I believe I ever allowed myself to have because I teach it now. So wow. I was able to do such cool things with the props and just that woman that I got to play, this Italian woman, it felt so natural. It was like putting on a pair of slippers for me. I don't know why, but I don't think I've ever felt that free on stage where there was no anxiety. I had complete trust in my partner, my director. It was probably my favorite experience ever. Once upon a time, I would have said West Side Story was that, and then I would play it until, I was 50 years old. But, that can't happen.
Well, Jesus Christ Superstar, so maybe you can do it again.
Yeah, maybe. Well, actually, funny story. When we did West Side Story at Portage Central, I won't say quite how old I was at the time, but our Maria on Tech Monday lost her voice and was sick. She was very sick and couldn't come. And I had co-directed the show with my mom. My mom had directed all of the group scenes with the Jets and the Sharks and the big stuff. And I had pretty much taken Tony and Maria and directed a lot of their stuff because I knew it so well. And so my mom said, Denene, we need the lighting people to be able to follow Maria. We need the sound, designer to be able to, Mike, you have to play this tonight. And
oh my gosh.
And so I went up to the kid that was playing Tony, who was 6'5". Okay. And I looked at him and I said, you will not kiss me. You will not lift me. Let's do this. And then we did. We totally did West Side Story. It was like going back to work. It was the weirdest thing. It was a thrill. It was super duper fun.
Wow.
So who would have ever thought I could go back to playing Maria at that age? But yeah, I'd say I feel freest as a performer, but I'm getting better at feeling like a director is something I can be. If that answers the question.
Yeah. Patrick, you're right. There's something about all three of those things that are very fulfilling. As a producer, I love, being able to hire a team and it's so collaborative. That's one of the things I love about theater is how collaborative it is and getting to work with a team and say, let's bring this story to life. And I love making those calls like to actors to say, you got the part. I mean, that's something that as, when we were in New York, that's something that we wanted that call so desperately. And now I'm someone who is able to do that for other people. And the shocks and the crying sometimes and the tears of joy and the laughter and the excitement is it's thrilling to be on the other end of that phone. But I directed one show. I directed Blue's Clues Live at Farmers Alley. I'm not really a director. I'm learning more from people like Denene and Kathy Mulay about how to be a good director, but it's not really my forte. But I'm an actor by training, and I've been a ham since 9 years old, listening to Sweeney Todd and acting out Mrs. Lovett in the living room. So, I guess that's where my heart truly lies. And playing opposite, your wife or and being in a show with your kids. I mean, that is something really cool and pretty indescribable. And something that most people are like, wow, how do you guys do that? And it's like, well, we've been singing together since, Carly was old enough to sing. So it's just second nature to us. And it's pretty thrilling.
So you guys met. So I'm assuming then you did meet on the tour.
Actually, no, we met doing a production of West Side Story, but it was in this little tiny barn theater in central Pennsylvania. And it was only a 3-week gig. That's it. Oh. And we were making peanuts. I mean, like literally peanuts. And we saw each other when they made a stop. We had a bus from Port Authority out to Williamsport, is I believe where we first stopped, and they let us out to get food. And Jeremy saw me, but I didn't see him. And then when we got to the actual destination and I looked at him for the first time, a little voice went off in my head and said, "This person is going to be very important in your life." And I knew that right away. We truly did have that love at first sight story, because within three weeks, I mean, we were totally in. And I was playing Maria in that production, but Jeremy was playing action.
Oh, one of the Jets.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's really interesting because each of us has this story about how like we almost weren't a part of this production.
Right.
And the producer called me and like kind of twisted my arm, and the director called her and twisted her arm. And I had people telling me, "Oh, it's only 3 weeks and you're not even Tony. It's just action.
Don't go.
Don't even bother." And if I hadn't, it's real. The stars kind of aligned. So it's pretty cool. But those peanuts were delicious, I want to say.
Had you played Tony? I know Denene had played Maria before. Had you played Tony before this production?
I did when I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah. It was one of my first big leading roles, and it was opposite a woman who's been on Broadway a few times, Marcy Harriel. And so, she and I, she was a senior and I was a sophomore, and I was so excited. I was way too young. There was a senior who really wanted to get it, but I got it.
Well, and he had played Chino in Summer Stock, so he's been all over the place in West Side Story.
That's hilarious.
I've only ever, I played Rosalia because when he got the national tour, and then I joined as the Rosalia / Maria cover. And then the tour closed, and then when it reopened and went back out, we went out as Tony and Maria.
Yep.
So were you a couple at that time when you went out as Tony and Maria? Okay.
Ever since that little summer stock theater in Pennsylvania, we were together ever since. I mean, it was like Meet the Parents later that summer. It was a done deal.
We've each, I believe, done 7 productions of West Side Story. Between the two of us, we've done 14.
So,
oh my gosh.
That's amazing. We have a request.
So Kevin has a request.
Oh no.
I'd like to hear a few bars of Tonight from West Side Story. Can you do it? I'm
in teacher mode. I'm not in singer mode right now. Oh gosh.
It's so funny when you ask singers.
Just the chorus.
All right. Who has perfect pitch? Give me a D.
Oh God, not me. You know I don't, Denene.
Just go and I'll go with you.
The piano's right there. Tonight, it all began tonight. I saw you and the world went away. There.
Oh my God. I just got chill bumps over that.
Was a good key. That was a good key that we picked there. A little lower than the original, I believe.
We just saw it this weekend.
Yeah, we tell the kids that they owe their lives to West Side Story. I mean, West Side Story brought us together. We toured. We were able to save some money and save up for helped me buy a wedding, an engagement ring. I mean, these kids owe their lives to West Side for sure.
Yeah.
Kevin is doing an applause.
Oh, thank you, Kevin.
Kevin lives in New York and sees so much theater, and he's a very talented needlepoint. And
cool.
What's the other thing that he does, Teresa? Is it called needlepoint? Yeah. And he was on one of our episodes, which was his display is.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know if it's still up. It was in Union Station.
No, Union Station.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Needlepoint. It's really interesting. So okay. Because we're on West Side Story, did you see it? I mean, It seemed. And
we saw it in IMAX when it first came out. We took my students. We took a group of my high school kids.
Wow.
And we cried through the whole thing.
Loved
it. I mean, that music, that New York Philharmonic, and because we were IMAX, the surround sound,
Spielberg is a genius. Like you know some of his films and you know that he's amazing, but then when you see what he does with musical theater, just because that's been our lives, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's lifting this up to like a whole other level. Just the shots cinematically, the light, what he did with lighting, the way like people's faces glowed. I mean, the way that Maria, her face just glowed. And I was like, how are you doing this?
And the changes they made to the script, and, Tony singing Cool and all those things. I mean, we just thought it was ingenious. I loved Rita Moreno.
Oh my God. That moment was brilliant. That was
I didn't know that was coming. I had no idea that was coming.
Me either.
So
And that was the thing, is we saw it the first weekend because I didn't want to hear anything. I just wanted to go and experience it. And we did. We held hands the entire time. And Jeremy at one point was crying so much that he was shaking the whole row of seats.
Jeremy.
It takes very little to make Jeremy cry. It's true. But we loved it. We really did.
Love.
You know, the story is just too integral in our lives to not embrace every single opportunity to make it known, to have the next generation fall in love with it too.
It somehow had the feeling of classic and vintage, but also being brought into 2022. I don't know how he did that. You know what I mean? It felt timely, but also nostalgic. I loved it.
Loved the Bernardo. It was
anybody, what they did with the character of anybody's. I just
brilliant.
That was so cool.
Highly recommend.
Oh,
so
yay.
I'm going to
love
come
hearing
back
that.
into. So I'm curious, when you guys met, you said you were all in very quickly. Was there ever a thought like, oh, I want to be with a creative person, I need to find a creative person? I mean, did you ever have any? I mean, because you were so young at that point, did you even think about who you wanted in a mate or a partner or anything like that, or was it just, this is exactly what
I think I probably always assumed I'd end up with another actor, just because I'd always kind of been attracted to the other actor, you know, but not necessarily somebody I played opposite, just somebody that shared those same, passions.
I think we felt like we really wanted to both be on Broadway, and we thought that another actor would understand what that's like and could help us navigate that, and could be joyous when we got it, you know what I mean, and supportive if we didn't get the call.
I always tell my students, some of them will take the class thinking they're going to major in musical theater, or that they want to do musical theater, and I say, if by the end of the year that has been either confirmed or affirmed, or you decide against it, I've done my job, because I want to give them a real sense of what it takes. And I say to them, some could consider being a performer a very selfish type of job, not because you're a selfish person, but because you have to take care of you. You are your product. You have to have the current headshots. You have to spend money on classes and clothing and audition things, so it's about me. So if you don't have somebody else that really understands that, it could be really difficult. Then there's the flip side, which is if you don't have anybody that understands that, it makes it a lot easier on you, because they go do their thing, and you can be in your own drama, and you're not jealous, and you're not wishing you had the other person's career. So weve been lucky that it didn't tear us apart, because it could have just as easily.
And there's the financial thing too, which is that, if one of you is kind of because it's very
hit or miss,
roller coaster, right? Roller coaster. You're working, and then you're not, and then it's up and down. And if you have someone more steady, your lawyer, your significant other who's a lawyer, it's like that steady,
right.
and you feel a little more secure financially. But when you're we were in our early 20s, so we weren't really thinking about that.
Right.
Which is good. So, Farmer's Alley.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to know how did you guys make the journey to Kalamazoo, and was your intention going into Kalamazoo that you were going to start a theater?
Yes. Ding, ding.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, part of the story is that we never really got that Broadway break. Okay. And so, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And we went through a kind of a rough patch as performers, and
Broadway was changing. I mean, it's always changing, but at the time it was the first real influx of rock and pop. And we had more classically trained, not that we couldn't do other things, but we were looking more toward the revivals at that point, because everything else was new and something we wouldn't be able to do. So lots of rejections, lots of, and we started cater waitering, and we had a job at the Hilton Times Square, which actually turned out to be a great place for us. But I got so sick of auditioning that I put in to be the event coordinator for the catering department, and all of a sudden I had a job. Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so he was continuing to audition, but it was starting to really weigh on him. And we would joke, my parents and I would joke with him and say, oh, Jeremy, let's not deal with this anymore. Let's move to Michigan and open a theater. And one day, seriously, we had Jason. And so here he's 1 year old. But one day Jared comes home and says, okay, let's do it. Let's move to Michigan. I'm sick of this.
Wow.
I called my mom and dad. I was like, he just said I was like afraid I was going to jinx it. I was like, oh my God, this might actually happen. And man, we were looking at houses so fast. You know? Yeah.
Well, I'm a Jersey boy. You know, I'm born and raised in, well, yeah, technically, born and raised in New Jersey, and I've been there my whole life. And living in New York, it was where I always wanted to be. And went to school in Boston. Like, I'm an East Coast guy, and so like moving to Michigan was just such like a foreign concept to me. I would never. You know, in my 20s, I would never dream of doing something like that. But then eventually it was like, well, why? Why are we struggling so hard? Why are we trying to make this work so hard when we could maybe have it all? Maybe we could have a family and do theater in a place where it's a little bit easier to do that.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, and I tell people, I say, if we hadn't moved here, we probably wouldn't have Carly because we wouldn't have been able to afford her.
Right.
You know? But no, Farmers Alley actually came about because we were, Mom and Jeremy in particular, looking for an existing building, maybe trying to find a way to open a theater. But Jeremy, you know, he kind of wanted to wait until we had a space to like arrive on the scene. You know what I mean? And then the Civic announced that they were doing Ragtime. And I said, I want to be in that. I said, I want to do that. So I said, I'm going to go audition. So I did. I went to the audition, and it was so fun. And it was so nostalgic for me, Patrick, as you can attest.
Because we saw it in New York.
Right. And I went to, well, no, I mean nostalgic being in the building, the Civic, you know. So I went to Jeremy and I said, oh my God, you have to audition. That was so much fun. We haven't done this in so long. You have to do this.
Oh my God.
Mother and Tata, and Adam and Rob Weiner were in it. And so we became really good friends with Adam and Rob during that production in 2007. And they actually approached us one day after rehearsal and said, you know, my dad has some space. We have a building. We were thinking we might want to do a theater, and we want you guys to be our partners. And we were like, yes, that is why we are here. So
they didn't even know.
My dad has a barn. Oh my God.
Well, a little bit nicer than a barn, but yeah. It was just fate. It was like it was meant to align that these two families would come together and start this theater. And we had such great support. I mean, that conception of Farmers Alley started in the parking lot one night in 2007, and a year later we opened our doors. So
we hit the ground running. We got a board of directors together. We got a season lined up. We hired, you know, actors, directors, designers, crew, musicians. We got, you know, support from the community, renovated the space, had great people like Lanny Potts and Les Batts helping us, you know, figure out equipment and designing that space. Lots of people went into making that happen, but it was a year from seed to tree.
Yeah.
Was it?
So I'm going to just real quick question, because I don't want to lose Kevin's question there. Just jumping back for half a second. Did you guys do any off-Broadway?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Jeremy actually opened. You can tell the story about you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I actually did an off-Broadway production of Pirates of Penzance. It was on a ship at South Street Seaport called the Peking. And it was kind of an updated version where they mixed the classic music with like updated, pop rock versions of the songs. Anyway, kind of a very cool production. And then I actually started a theater company with some friends from college, and we did have some success. And so we actually made it happen for ourselves, and we rented a space on Theater Row, and we actually got some really great rave reviews in like the New York Times and stuff. So yeah.
Well, he's not telling you the whole story. No. This is the interesting part of the story. They opened, they got backers, they raised money. They did such a great job, and they put a production of Boy's Life together, Howard Moore's Boy's Life. And they opened it on September 10th, 2001.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they had the show, we had the big opening night party, and then the next morning.
Wow.
So nobody saw that rave review in the Times, and it just, from then on, people weren't going. So they performed the show. New York had a real, we're not going to let this get us down kind of attitude, but audiences weren't coming. So they would do the show for two people, in the audience.
I've done that.
Yep. Yeah.
And it wasn't after 9/11.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But we tried to persevere, and we made it through that run, and then we did a few other productions there, but it was hard to really regain that footing.
Yeah.
And I think that something, the universe said that wasn't what was supposed to happen for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I kind of branched away from that, and that's another reason that led to wanting to move to Michigan.
So when did you come back to Michigan then? What, 2006?
2004.
Okay. And then Farmer's Alley was 2007.
08. It was the fall of 08. Yeah, that
Okay.
ragtime production was 07.
Yeah.
What I'm curious because Teresa and I've done theater and have done shows and are part of different theaters. How much more challenging is it because you created an equity house? So how much more challenging is that than going, we're going to do community theater and pay rights for a show? What goes into that? And then what was your experience? Did you have people that you had that knew that world?
No, we did a lot of learning. I mean, Denene and I have experience as equity actors, but we did a lot of learning on how to produce equity theater. We knew we wanted to hire people, that we worked with before. There was the late, great Peg Small was actually in town and one of our equity actors that we hired to play Daisy in Driving Miss Daisy. And so we knew that there were some people in town, maybe some people that had grown up here and then gone on to have big careers and come back. We never got Jennifer Garner, though.
No.
How did that not happen? But
I've tried to reach out, but I think she's too famous.
You lost that phone number.
She's too famous, yeah. I had her old number when she had a service.
You guys remember?
Yeah. I had
her
service number and her pager number and her parents' address in West Virginia.
The service the pager doesn't work anymore. We're so surprised. But yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it, and it's definitely a major part of the budget. And so, it's something that we try to communicate with our audiences to help them understand that, the reason we're able to bring in people like Barbara Marino or Hannah Ellis or Nat Degree is because we have this relationship with that union. And therefore we need your support. We need your financial support to be able to afford to do those productions and bring those people in.
Yeah. Yeah. Nat Degree. Wow. Because Mark did Gold Company and knew Steve Degree very well and knew Nat as a little boy. And boy, is he really creating some interesting stuff.
Freakishly talented.
So talented.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you had the wonderful Steve Wallum and Tony Hammerkauser do the producers, which was so much fun. That was going to be one of my questions. You've had people like Scott Coulter come in and do concert shows and stuff. Did that help you in any way of getting a little more visibility, or was it just kind of the same? Was it just part of your season? I think it
depends on who it is. Like Scott gave us probably more of a national reputation, because people in New York would be like, oh, you have Scott Coulter. But people in Kalamazoo didn't necessarily know who he was, although he did play Jack in Into the Woods.
He did Into the Woods,
which was amazing, which is when I first met him.
I think that helps people in New York, because when Lauren Kennedy comes or Scott Coulter comes, they say, I'm going to Kalamazoo, Michigan to perform at Farmer's Alley. And that puts Farmer's Alley's name in people's heads. So anybody that's been here and really enjoys our theater or has come back numerous times, some of them tell us that they don't want to tell people about it because they want it to be just their little gem of a place to they get to come to. But of course, we would like as much recognition to go out there as possible. But I think it was also fun for our board members to get to meet some of these New York cabaret artists that came in and worked with us so that they could tell their friends, come support this theater because you're going to see something you don't normally get to see on a Kalamazoo stage.
So you've managed through this to, this is a show we like to talk about the creative side of things. Like how has that struggle been between trying to manage a theater and trying to remain creative? Do you feel pretty good about that balance that you've struck, or do you get
it was rough. I mean, it's rough for everyone, so I feel guilty even saying that, but it was certainly rough. I mean, and actually a friend of yours, you guys know Julie Nemitz, and Julie was very instrumental in helping us navigate the virtual world
of the pandemic.
And we were able to do virtual productions, like The Conviction of Lady Lorraine, written by Western Michigan acting professor Dwandra Lampkin, or Sophia Our Beloved, written by Western graduate Jariah Kwame, and a shout out to them. But yeah, so artists, usually have to stay creative somehow. And you see a lot of TikTok stuff, or like YouTube, or like Carly's writing her own songs. But we decided, instead of going dormant, what we love is live theater, live and physically in person. But if you can't do that, then what are you going to do? And the next best thing was to create something really super creative, kind of like your Santa hat, like do something, create it, put it virtually, but make it as artistically fulfilling as possible and as creatively exciting as possible, so that the audience feels like they're watching something and they're actually right there. And obviously people are watching Netflix and all kinds of things on screen. So why not us too?
Yeah.
I thought what you guys created, and is that the one that Teresa directed? And,
yeah, the Sophia
tech directions. Yeah.
It was great. It was wonderful. And you know, so many people are like, well, you're just in a box doing this. And then they see it. And it was the same way with Santa Hat, where Todd added, you know, scoring and graphics and everything. And people are like, oh, wow. Yeah. You know, and the backgrounds that you guys had and the movement and everything.
Yeah.
That's what I love about, you know, theater and creativity. It's like, how can we pretend this is a black box theater, right? And how can we make that as creative as possible? And it really gives people the opportunity to really create and use their imagination. Yeah. So go ahead.
It's good to shout out to Teresa and also to our friend Todd Lewis for coming up with those really creative ways of showing those images and doing transitional things that make the audience feel like they're part of something more cinematic.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on it. I filmed it with you guys, but I had no idea what to expect. And when we watched it, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. I had no idea how creative
you did this.
It was very cool.
So we talked a little bit, we're getting towards the end, and I just want to say, we talked a little bit about what you're doing with Farmers Alley, and that you're been doing this during this time. You're open, and audience is wearing masks, but actors aren't, and they're being tested. Can you just tell us about what's next? And I put the website up here. I'm going to put it in the chat, and how this process has been for you, that you're open again, you know, and I'm involved with Saugatuck Center for the Arts in Mason Street, and they're open and doing Little Shop, and they're going to be doing Legally Blonde, and you know, but the audience has to be. I know that was my dog.
I was going to say, that's not Mark shaking off.
So just share a little bit about how that's going and where you're at.
Yeah, last summer we all hunkered down. You know, the executive staff hunkered down and said, how can we reopen, and how can we do it safely? And how can we hopefully do it and not have the actors wear masks? And we were able, what we decided was audience must show proof of vaccination at the door. And anyone we hire or volunteers for us, actors, directors, designers, crew, musicians, they all must show proof of vaccination as well. And we keep that on file. Audience wears masks the entire time. Crew wears masks but off stage. Actors take their masks off to perform, but wear masks at all other times. And that's been working. And actors get tested. And part of this is equity guidelines. We talked about the Actors Union. And part of this is equity guidelines to feel like their artists are being protected and we can open safely. And stage managers too are also part of the union. And we've had a couple musicals, and we're doing a play right now called Lifespan of a Fact. And we are open, and our actors are not wearing masks, and we're feeling really good about that and really proud of that. But there's still a lot of hesitancy. You know, there's audience members that, you know, they just still don't feel comfortable, or they don't want to wear a mask, whatever it is. So, you know, things aren't quite back to normal, but we're as close to normal as we possibly can be.
Yeah. And the next 3 productions are The Revolutionists, Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill.
Oh, nice.
Bright Star, which I'm really excited about.
I didn't read about Bright Star. I guess I missed that one. Oh, great. When is that? Is that later summer?
June 16 through July 3rd.
Yeah.
And Full Circle.
This guy's going to be in it along with our son, Jason. He's going to be in it.
So that's I definitely want to ask a question about your kids. Like yay for you guys doing the show together. That's fun.
And my mom.
But I want to know, I mean, did it just come naturally for both of them to get involved in theater? Was there any parenting going on there that was like?
We did not push at all, because, you know, I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I tried to keep kids from doing the theater. I teach it, you know what I mean? Right. But we wanted to make sure they just took to it, or it became something they were interested in. They were just surrounded by it, so how could they not? But I'm telling you, we did not give these kids lessons. They just picked stuff up, and people never ever hesitate to tell Jeremy and I how much better Jason and Carly are than me. I am telling you, I'm not kidding at all.
It's like, you guys are great, but those kids, man.
But we're fine with it because it's true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, they're just really great, and they're having fun. And Jason's doing his U of M thing; he's loving it. And Carly just played Anastasia over at Portage Central High School, and she was, as a freshman, whatever.
They're naturals. I mean, it's kind of shocking to see them just flourish without any of those lessons or anything, and do things that we can't do. Jason literally does beatbox. He didn't learn it from me, much as you'd be surprised that I am not the beatbox master.
Come on, Jeremy.
Carly writes songs. Jason writes songs. Like they have these musical and artistic brains that are similar to ours, but even exceed ours, and it's thrilling.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Real quick, because I know we have to go, but I'm assuming he's not equity, so you can use a certain amount of equity and a certain amount of non-equity, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's based on our contract with equity and the size of the cast.
Do you guys run into that as performers, being able to perform at Civic and things like that?
Right.
We're not part of the union ourselves anymore. We used to be, but when we moved here, no, because we wanted to be able to do things locally. It's possible we'll join up again and become only equity members who work through Farmers Alley exclusively, but it would be an issue, yes, if we were still in the union. Yeah.
As we were chatting, I just for a second there, I went, my cheeks hurt just from smiling.
Me too.
And I feel like there is just a natural, I'm like, I don't remember that being a thing for me. I feel like there's just a natural joy between the two of you, but also that is just your love and your passion and your appreciation for theater, and like it's just given you so much. I mean, what would you guys do if you didn't have theater in your lives? Like, who would you have been?
I've dabbled in some sales. I think actors are good salesmen.
Yeah.
I actually went to college at first to be a lab technician. I wanted to work with like genetics and blood. So I almost pursued that. And if it hadn't been for friends who had gone on a national tour that I had the chance to go on and didn't, because Denene was going to go to college, they were writing me letters and telling me, and finally I just said to my parents, okay, I have to try. Let me just see. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe I would be, working crime scenes or something.
Wow. And your kids would be doing medical things.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Well, selling pharmaceuticals?
Maybe. But we feel very passionate about this because, we're not curing cancer necessarily, but there is such tremendous importance to theater, and especially the skills that it teaches, especially young people, communication, teamwork, collaboration, but mostly empathy, the way that it helps you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and creating empathetic people makes the world a better place.
It does. Yeah, people were saying crying after performances, particularly this one story after Anastasia. One of the designers, a friend brought her child, who is a quiet child, and apparently this child was so moved by the performance that she smiled in a way she's never smiled, said some words, and spoke to Carly. And this designer said to Carly, "You change the world. You change the world with what you do." And I feel so blessed that I work with high school kids, because that's my first passion. Honestly, that's what I love doing the most. We open doors, we open eyes, we open hearts, if we're doing our job. And it really does. It's a really special thing to witness when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what a wonderful way. Happy, you make me so happy. That's great.
I'm so glad you guys did this. This was wonderful. We, Denene and I have such a long history. It's crazy. And Jeremy, just getting to know you through the years and work on a few different projects. Teresa's right. You guys just exude joy, and
Thanks.
so thankful for that. And give your love to your mom if she's
Sure
watching.
will.
Hi. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was super fun, and we appreciate both of you. And we know that you're incredibly creative and artistic people, and you're doing your thing, and we support you in that completely. So congrats.
Thanks. And people, check out farmersalleytheater.com. It's in the chat. You just got to click on the link and go support their shows, support what they're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, you guys.
Throw you to the green room. Throw you to the
Don't
green
run away. Go in the green room. Okay. All right.
Oh, what a delight.
Very fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
It just brings back. Yeah, you saw Into the Woods. She was Cinderella in Into the Woods. So you've seen her.
I thought because I know she's got talent. Like I know, and she was in Sophia Our Beloved too, which is hard because you're like this. But I know I've seen her on stage because I remember her being like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to bite my tongue for saying this, but she should have played a certain role in Baby, but there was a little nepotism going on. Sorry, I have to say it.
What?
It's out there.
Oh my heavens. Somebody's got some.
Well, she was amazing. So anyway.
Good. All right. I'm going to get that story in a minute. With that, we'll be back in March for a few more shows, and we're counting down. We're
coming to our 2-year, and we got a lot going on in life. So I think we're closing in on Fubble.
But
so,
we have
time.
Fubble Time. Not closing in on Fubble. No,
we got. That's one of the reasons we're. Yeah, it's good.
Ramping up Fubble-y, ramping down Fubble Time. So with that, we'll see you in March, and we're gonna say, gotta go.